Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men number 229, cover dated May 1988. And this cover by Marc Silvestri and Dan Green features from the original all-new X-Men lineup of giant-size X-Men, Storm, Colossus and Wolverine, because these are the surviving original members of that all-new team who are the core of this particular configuration of the X-Men as they have a new beginning in their new base down under in the Australian Outback. So the cover here set at night with a full desert moon behind the X-Men, and they're battling atop a mound of cyborgs, the Reavers, who are the inhabitants of the town that they're about to overtake. So this issue doesn't come immediately after the conclusion of the Fall of the Mutants storyline. There is, between that and this, in 228, a fill-in issue and a filler issue because it tells a story prior to the Fall of the Mutants storyline. So this really is kind of the next issue, and also explains some things that weren't fully worked out at the end of the issue 227. So let's open this one up. So the story begins in Singapore, and Claremont introduces Singapore as an island. This particular Hoan International Bank is an up-and-coming institution. And Miss Hoan herself here with a little family who are visiting the bank. And then there is this unexpected, seems like an explosion, but it turns out to be the arrivals of the Reavers through a dimensional portal, or anyway a teleport exit point if it's not interdimensional, because we'll get to the reason why or who has caused this subsequently. So something else to note here is this double page half splash by Silvestri, and this is a format he used already in Uncanny X-Men 227, and so obviously he liked it and he's using it again here. So we have on one side of the page all these people getting shot, and on the other the Reavers emerging from the portal. So a lot of action in these pages. Our creative team is Chris Claremont, writer, Marc Silvestri, penciler, Dan Green, inker, Glynis Oliver, colorist, and Tom Orzechowski, letterer. So we get introductions to these different characters. We learn their names as we go along. This is Bonebreaker, and this is Pretty Boy here, and they are pretty nasty characters who are determined to rob this bank, but they discover from Miss Hoan that as soon as they broke in, the security computers automatically seal the vault and the time lock can't be open for 24 hours. So they kill the bank manager, who is her uncle, because he can't be of any help to them, and they get an idea to abduct Miss Hoan after blowing through the lock and door of the vault and robbing it. And they have the idea that they can use her financial skills for their own benefit. So having robbed the bank and killed a load of staff and clientele, they make their exit through this portal. And where do they come out? Well, we get this nice transition from Singapore to Australia, and some of Claremont's exposition regarding Australia, a wild, desolate land, this heart of the fifth and most remote of Earth's continents, a place that in many ways appears as the world did when it was young, raw, and untempered by either elements. So an ideal location for a fresh start for the X-Men. So here is Gateway, this is the name of this Aboriginal character who's swinging his bull roarer there and has the power to open and shut gateways to anywhere on the planet. So the Reavers emerge. They've threatened him, and that's why he is working for them. And Bonebreaker here renews the threat. Any funny stuff and the Reavers will trash your holy place beyond all hope, O reconsecration, and then your people will never know peace. They'll wander the dreamlands, slave to outside spirits to the end of time and beyond. So that is why Gateway works, quote unquote, for the Reavers. So then we get a scene of the Reavers enjoying themselves post the successful robbery. And then we get a scene with Pretty Boy who's showing Miss Hoan their plunder, and also explains to her that they have no means to spend their treasure. So that's why they need her. And he sends out these fiber optic filaments from his eyes and starts to rewrite her psyche. Instant psychic reprogramming, as he says, like being reborn. A whole new you. Isn't that nice? And it seems like she's going to like this new version of herself as Pretty Boy rewires her brain. Then this sandstorm is seen in the distance, and Bonebreaker orders his men to lock the town down, but it's too late. And then we learn that in fact there's a human agent behind the sandstorm, and that it is Storm of the X-Men, and working in tandem with Psylocke, who is in effect, by virtue of her telepathic powers, the team's comm link. She communicates with Havok, who blasts the HQ of the Reavers, and makes an entrance point for Longshot and Dazzler here. Longshot is horrified at what Bonebreaker, who he calls a monster man, is doing to Miss Hoan, and he goes crazy and he cuts through the filaments, the optic filaments, with his iron blades, and then basically he does what he usually does and he rescues the girl. Bonebreaker then, not Bonebreaker, but Pretty Boy uses his bionic arms to attack Ali, grabs her by the throat, but she uses her laser light powers to slice off one of his arms. Pretty dramatic. And then out goes the fiber optic cables again, whereby he's going to attack Ali and try and rewrite her brain too. Then our scene shifts to Colossus and Rogue entering the hotel that is the home of the Reavers within the town. I just like the way that Silvestri has drawn this. You really get a sense of, in particular, Rogue stepping up onto the platform there. Their emotion. I like the way he's cartooned this out. They go in, and then the Reavers are all basically thumped and thrown out the windows and doors of the hotel. And then we see Rogue and Colossus squaring up to the remaining Reavers. So then we have this battle royale, and Bonebreaker grabs a hold of Rogue by the bare flesh, and we all know what is going to happen then. So she absorbs his powers and memories, and he conks out on account of that. And she's utterly horrified at what she's learned from absorbing his memories. So she cries out, "Bonebreaker, I want your heart." But he's picked up by this other Reaver here, whose name I've momentarily forgotten, and carries him out as Colossus goes to town on the remaining Reavers in the hotel. Now this is a fantastic page here by Silvestri. This is really good. We've got 4 vertical panels on top, 4 on the bottom. These panels here don't have any borders, and this is just an excellent representation of Wolverine doing what he does best, and that is really slicing and dicing these cyborg characters. And something to note here is Claremont's decision, and we've seen it before with Barry Windsor Smith in particular, Uncanny X-Men 205, when he sees a page of art where the storytelling is so clear and words would be superfluous, he knows when to pull back and let the art do the talking. And that is the point now that's been arrived at with Silvestri on the book. He's got a rhythm going. He's got set patterns, yes, but then he can break out of them for particular scenes and episodes. This is just an amazing page. Great combination of color with the art too. Very nice. Just amazing if you were the person who owned the original page for this. Okay, so then the story continues with these three Reavers, Pretty Boy, Bonebreaker, and I've just forgotten this guy's name. I think Skull Crusher or something like that, just off the top of my head there. I could be wrong. And basically they ask Gateway to open a portal for them, saying that all debts are cancelled if he helps them escape, which he does. And then Wolverine arrives and makes to kill Gateway because his initial impression is that Gateway must be one of the Reavers. Not one of them as a cyborg, but working with them. But Storm stays his hand and says, for all his actions, I sense this man is no more villain or Reaver than we. So then we have the aftermath of the battle with the X-Men gathered in the hotel, and Psylocke indicating that Miss Hoan, that her thoughts are chaos and impossible to read. So into the middle of this arrives Roma, last seen at the end of Uncanny X-Men 227, and she is she exchanges greetings with Storm, and what Storm says back to her: if ever a band of villains needed to be brought to justice, this is it. Our thanks, Celestial One, for sending us to this place. So it may be revealing that when Roma was going to send them somewhere at the end of 227, that the X-Men also asked to be sent somewhere where they could do some good. And so that may be the reason that they were ported by Roma to this particular Outback town. And then she presents them with this item or object, the Siege Perilous, which she says, from time immemorial portal to man's fate. Those who pass through its portal are judged by the highest of powers. The good and ill of their lives are weighed in the cosmic balance, and they are born again, given a second chance to redeem themselves. So this comes in the midst of a debate among the X-Men as regards what to do with the captured Reavers. Wolverine votes for them to be killed, and Colossus is not on board with that. He thinks that it's a bridge too far to become executioners. So now with the Siege Perilous as an option, the debate continues among the X-Men. Wolverine and Psylocke are both for killing the Reavers because for them vengeance is justice. But Storm as leader makes the deciding call and gives the Reavers, the prisoners, the option of facing Wolverine or going through the Siege Perilous. So they take the Siege Perilous option, and then we see them going through here. And then we get Storm asking Roma whether Roma was the goddess, the world spirit she invoked and beheld in her youth in Kenya. But Roma says, no, it isn't her. And then Storm asks her, are you the X-Men's guardian angel then? And Roma says no. She's thankful for their aid against the adversary, but once done, they have to be quits. So Roma won't be helping the X-Men going forward, because that would be too much of a deus ex machina that could be used in storylines thereafter. So the Reavers go through the Siege Perilous, and I just want to point out here, I like this, where you see Rogue from behind as they're going through, and then the Silvestri switches the camera angle, and you see her in the same pose from the front as they're going through. And then a little bit of comical dialogue here from Claremont, obviously impressed by the little moment here between the two Reavers trepidatiously going through the Siege Perilous. After you, Stanley. No, Ollie, you first. So presenting them as Stan and Ollie, Oliver Hardy types. And then we have the whole question of what to do with Miss Hohen, because the X-Men are worried that with the whole world believing them dead, that the Reavers would have told about them, and or that Miss Hohen could do the same. She doesn't want to go through the Siege Perilous. She's frightened of the prospect, and she, of course, is an innocent. So Roma then intervenes, and this will be her last time intervening, where she uses her powers to send Miss Hohen back to the time and place of her abduction. And then finally, she says that she's going to leave the Siege Perilous with the X-Men, and that they too will have an option, should they ever choose, to go through the Siege Perilous and start a new life over. And Colossus responds to that. What then of the dream? Our teacher, Professor Xavier's dream that brought us together, and now, more than ever, gives our lives meaning. You call us heroes and legends. To me, Roma, those are labels with little meaning, another person's description of me, not my own. I am Peter Nikolaevich Rasputin. I'm Colossus. I'm an X-Man. That is important. That is what matters. And while I breathe, I will fight with all my heart for Xavier's dream and the better world it represents. So this is a restatement of the X-Men's original purpose here, even as they begin a new life, a new chapter of their ongoing story in the Australian Outback. And Roma departs with the words that the X-Men have the opportunity and capability to lead their world to the brightest or darkest of destinies. Use it well, for you hold the future in your hands. So this is our new team here at the end, in their new location, with their new setup, which includes, by the way, that they are undetectable by any agency, living or mechanical, magical or scientific. So they can operate undercover, in the shadows, so to speak, down under in Australia. One other thing I want to draw attention to just before moving on is this statement of ownership here in the letters page. The letters, by the way, are all in relation to X-Men 218, so from almost a year earlier. But the statement of ownership includes the numbers, and what's interesting here is the single issue nearest the filing date had a print run of 684,758. But from newsagents and newsstands, there was returns, the nearest issue to date, 222,855. So if you do the maths there, you'll see that the title was selling around just under 450,000 units at this point in 1988. Pretty good for the title. And that number is going to go up and up over the coming few years, all the way to X-Men #1. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this video featuring the aftermath of the Fall of the Mutants. If you enjoyed the video, please like it. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.